You are listening to Crime, Coffee, and Crafts, a podcast featuring two crafty besties who love true crime and a good cup of joe.
Here we are.
What's happening?
I'm having surgery tomorrow. Eye surgery.
Woo!
Yeah.
That's
LASIK.
exciting.
I'm having LASIK.
I'm kind of sad.
I am a little bit too. Now, I will preface this with I'm doing it mostly for career purposes so I can see properly without the inconvenience of glasses, but I can't get rid of my hot nerd status by getting rid of glasses altogether.
Are you going to get fake ones like mine?
I already ordered blue light ones.
Yes!
No, but of course,
I don't even have
I have to check. We'll have to check my reading glass status because I might need reading glasses instead.
Right. But all of those companies that make those cheap blue light
they make reading glasses. So.
Well, yeah, and you can get those cute ones with prescriptions too. But like, yeah, they have reading glasses.
Yeah. So I can't get rid of it. The glasses are part of my persona.
They are. I love your glasses.
Plus,
you won't be able to twin.
But
with your kid. I mean, you have to be able to twin with your kid. Uh-oh.
Harper, sorry. I thought I silenced it. Apparently, I just put it on Do Not Disturb and not silence.
Yeah, but it still should not disturb you when Do Not Disturb is on.
That's what I thought. But my fantasy football was like, hey, bro, you need to get in here because you need to check your stats.
That's really funny. Of all the things, fantasy football. Oh my gosh, that is hysterical. Okay, yeah. Well, was I wearing this last week?
No.
Okay.
You just got it.
So for anybody, I think
you got it right after we recorded last.
I think I got it right before because I think I wore my new zip up hoodie last week and they came together.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But for anybody who's not watching, I don't know if you've checked out our merch, but this is the Letterman, quote unquote, Letterman jacket. It's actually like sweatshirt material. So it's just a really cool, well, the whole thing it's just a sweatshirt.
Oh.
It's just made to look like a Letterman's jacket, but it's got the skull mug on the back, y'all.
It's the most fabulous thing ever.
I'm so excited about it, and it's so comfy.
Yeah.
Unlike a real Letterman's jacket.
Right.
Just heavy.
Like they have that silky material on the inside sometimes.
Yeah. Which
weird.
It doesn't feel good on me. I'm too sweaty to wear that kind of stuff.
Like a members only jacket. And look at me.
Yes, she's fantastic in her new shirt.
Yes. Woo-hoo. I got a shirt. I love it. It's a perfect color.
Show everybody your new mug.
Oh, yes.
Well, for anybody who's not watching yet again, I'll post pictures of it on Instagram.
We'll have other content on our other social medias.
Yeah.
But this is a caffeine beaker mug, and we'll have to say where it came from later because
it's Kim. If you go on Instagram, it's at Kim and Kimberly. At Kim and spelled out Kimberly. It's two of them.
Nice.
Not just one with two names that are the same. Two different. Okay, so Kim and Kimberly, and they actually, I have to show off this candle. They make science geek stuff. So I got
Pierre Science Geeks.
Yeah, I got my beaker candles. And I actually got Ben a beer mug from them.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's really cool. Uh-oh, did your thing fall?
Yeah, it's having problems.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
No, mine does
Sorry
that
for
all the
audio
time.
problems.
Nothing new. Normally it's on my end.
We're full of problems.
So anyway, what are we doing?
Yes, ma'am. What are we doing today?
I'm going to talk about my craft real quick.
Yes, please.
Before I move on.
What are we crafting?
I have a couple of different things I'm working on, but you're going to really like these. So you know how everybody does like yarn balls for like, just to put in a bowl?
Mhm.
I mean, I'm going to do them in sets of 3, but I don't have the third color ready.
Yeah.
So this is some actual yarn I made out of flannel strips that I cut.
Nice.
And I made these yesterday. And I just like unspun. I flattened out the flannel because I was like, it's too bulky to just wrap it twisted. So
right.
I'm really excited.
Like how they turned out. They look really cool.
And they're just styrofoam core. I tried to look for wood and could not find them anywhere. But
yeah, because we prefer wood.
Yeah, I'm not a styrofoam fan.
But if you keep them forever, then they're not a problem.
But look what else I made, little Christmas ornaments. They're glass.
Oh, I like it.
It's the same yarn.
That's awesome. So you have...
and then I have sparkly yarn too that I spun.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's got gold tinsel. Oh, and then there's the other color of flannel.
Love it.
But like, I'm like, oh, that was fun and easy. And I actually made a little video about how to do that. I had never done it before. I was like, let's just do it. So
that's what we do.
That's how we roll. Yeah, and I'm still like working on hats, obviously.
Obviously. Heidi works on hats all the time.
It's like it's the season. And then my coffee is another one from Pete's. It's delicious. It's Guatemalan. And it is a dark roast and it's an organic. So they have a select organic section, which is cool. And it's really good. It says it's got an elegant acidity.
Elegant.
Which I know I can really taste acidity in coffees. So I wouldn't really say it's elegant, but
yeah.
It's pretty tasty. Cacao rich. So this is the Guatemala San Sebastian. The best
Very
of
nice.
Antigua. Love it. That. I know you're ready for the story.
I am. I am in anticipation.
Oh boy. All right. So last time we recorded, well, no, 2 times ago we recorded, Kristen and I gave each other a country and a state. So our next 2 stories had to be from that country and that state. So like now I'm on my country and she gave me Switzerland. Which
I gave her a little bit of a complicated one, guys. Sorry.
It's like, I don't know if you know this, but like finding information from Switzerland is next to impossible.
Right.
So like, yeah, this might be a little bit shorter than usual, but whatever, it's fine.
Hey, I'm just excited to see what you came up with.
Yeah, and I had to switch people because I couldn't find any information at all on the original guy, which is like wild. There was nothing at all, 0 information. And he was
under the rug. They swept it in the rug.
Yeah, well, and he was like the most notorious serial killer
from Switzerland,
and there was no information.
That's
creepy. So I'm covering the Sadist of Romont.
Oh boy.
AKA Michael Perry in English.
Very,
but it's Michelle Perry.
Gotcha. Makes
Yes.
sense. Makes
Or
more
actually-
sense now.
So I'll be calling him Michelle. Michelle.
Michelle.
Okay, trigger warnings though. This guy was a sexual sadist, which creepy because my last one
He
was
froze.
too.
Oh, there you go.
Uh-oh.
We had a moment. It's
Freeze.
okay.
Okay. So this guy was a sexual sadist for anybody that didn't gather that, which my last one was as well. So ew. What's wrong with me?
Yeah.
It just happens.
It just happens. We're drawn to certain things.
Yeah. So trigger warnings, rape, torture. And I'm going to be telling the stories of the two survivors. Not obviously in great detail, but like enough detail that you might want to skip that part or just skip this whole episode if you can't hang with that, which I understand. Okay. So Michelle Perry was born on February 28th, 1959. That makes him a Pisces. And I only know this because my mom's a Pisces. And hi, Mom. February 29th.
Hi, Mama Sin.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And she's a leap year. She's a leap year.
I know.
Baby. Pretty
She's
cool.
only like 16 at this point.
I don't even think she's 16.
I think when we were younger, we would
13?
try we would try and figure out years, but
Yeah. Oh, you froze now.
oh no, we're
You're
having
good
glitches,
now.
guys. We're sorry.
Everybody, it's okay. It's okay.
All right, we digress.
It's the Matrix.
Ooh.
Okay, so he was born in Freiburg, Switzerland. And he was born into a mixed family. And I'm assuming that this just means that they had kids from previous marriages.
Okay.
They didn't literally know where I looked, had any more information. So I actually put in here a little Brady Bunch-ish, but like the darker side, because I have bad humor. What's new? Okay. So Michelle was unusually close to his mom, but she did not reciprocate those feelings. She actually despised her own son. Michelle's father was an extremely abusive man who often beat on his mother, which made Michelle very angry. And his mom actually blamed him for his father's beatings.
Oh boy. That's
Yeah. Yeah. And Michelle's father was a violent drunk who had previously been arrested for touching young girls. Michelle admitted he hated his father and that he regularly thought about killing him. And interestingly enough, this reminded me of your last story a little bit for this reason. Both of his parents would force him to wear girls' tights if he ever got into trouble.
Oh.
And not
see?
just wearing them around the house. Like they would force
Out
him
in
to wear
public?
tights to school.
Yeah.
Which led to him being bullied and picked on.
Yeah.
So
guys, it's not a form of discipline.
No,
okay.
no.
It's not okay.
Yeah. So this was around the same time he started to want to hurt others. And when Michelle was a teenager, he found some magazines that belonged to his father. And they weren't just like your average magazines you would maybe expect to find in your dad's stash of like girly magazines. You know, I don't know about your dad, but like I know a bunch of people's dads had their little stash of girly mags. The guy living downstairs had his stash in the bathroom
Oh yes.
Anyway, but these were bondage and torture magazines. So
okay.
Extreme.
So he was exposed to
right. And these magazines
early on in life.
Exactly. These magazines only heightened his need to harm others. Like he really was like turned on by those magazines. So this makes you go, oh, maybe it is just he was born this way. And then nurtured to push it further.
Mhm.
So
Right.
he was also discovering that he had an attraction to people of the same sex. So he was just realizing he was actually gay. But this was the
Okay.
70s. It was the 70s in a very Catholic and
Yeah.
rural town in Switzerland. So he didn't feel like he could come out safely.
Right.
Um,
I didn't think Switzerland had problems with that at all ever, but
I think everywhere has problems with that.
yeah.
But I mean, it's linked with the Catholic thing.
Mhm.
When they're deeply rooted in that religion, it's just, it comes with the territory, unfortunately. Michel's urges to harm others were getting more frequent, and he didn't really know where to stop with that. Like, if, you know, there was a certain point he could get to where it was still okay. And so
Mhm.
he started researching sadomasochism, but he felt like he needed to talk to somebody and had no clue who he could confide in. So, being raised as a Catholic, he knew he could talk to a priest in confession, and he knew that his confessions would be confidential. Unfortunately, though, the priest he spoke to ended up sexually abusing him.
Oh, that is just wonderful. I'm so glad that a man of God who is supposed to protect all things just was a total shitty person.
Yes.
God dang.
So
Man.
the priest paid him 50 Swiss francs to keep his mouth shut. But Michel filed a complaint against the priest with local authorities.
Good for him.
Yeah. But the church didn't believe him. Duh.
Of course, they're going to keep it secret.
It's what they do. They sweep things under the rug. And the priest he had accused denied the accusation, but the police believed Michel. However, even with the police investigating the priest, nothing ever came of it because there was no evidence that anything had happened. So, like,
because
it's a he said situation.
Right.
So the priest got away with it, no charges. That's sad.
And he probably continued on with his abuse of people.
Probably. So now we're like 1975 ish. Michel and his family moved when he was 15, almost 16, to nearby Romont, which isn't that far. It's like 30 minutes away from where he was born.
Okay.
Romont was a small town of around 3,000 people at that time, which is about the size of my actual hometown in Idaho. And that's pretty small. Everybody knows everybody.
I'm guessing, sorry to interrupt, I'm guessing this is the French portion of Switzerland, like the western side of the country. Is it kind of split between German Swiss and French Swiss?
Right.
So
after graduation, Michel began working in Freiburg, which was just a 30-minute drive from Romont. Michel was attractive, popular, seemingly average. Nobody knew he was gay yet either, as he only dated females and hid the fact that he was gay from everyone.
Right.
And his employer said he was a model employee and that he was very dependable. So, like, I mean, who's gonna say anything? Oh no, he was charming. Anytime somebody's charming to me, I'm like, get away.
Red flag. Red flag.
Yes. And I can think about one person right now who ended up showing his true colors, and it didn't end well. Yeah, that's another story. Yikes.
There's all kinds of stories out there, guys.
Yeah. Around this time, he read and reread Hitler's Mein Kampf several times and joined some neo-Nazi organizations. All the all the while still living that normal average lifestyle nobody knew at all.
Right.
He seemed to have two different and very distinct personalities that he could flip on and off as he pleased. That's creepy.
Sociopath.
Right? Like, yikes. Throughout his 20s, he continued living with his parents and saved up his money because he liked to travel and he wanted to travel the world. So this was a great option. And it allowed him to begin traveling whenever the opportunity arose. So we're going to go to America.
America
For a second.
America.
Exactly. Oh, you just reminded me of that 70s show. I don't know if anybody listening watched that 70s show, but Fez was like, I love him. He was gonna go get his he was trying to become legal in America and he had to take the test, but he couldn't say America.
Yeah.
But he could say Eric. And so they were trying to teach him to say America, but he always said America. America. Oh, I love that show so much. I miss it. Okay.
It was funny.
The first crime.
He is beside herself.
I am. It's a problem. The first crime attributed to Michelle Perry dates back to September 1st, 1981, when the then 22-year-old traveled to the US. And there he says he met a young Canadian named Sylvester, who he stated he had a relationship with. And I guess Sylvester started like traveling with him. They were road tripping, as one does during that time period. I still do. Sylvester soon disappeared without a trace. And Michelle initially confessed to the murder, then retracted his claim and finally re-acknowledged it. But now, depending on where I looked, I'm not totally sure if this was a real crime or not, as Sylvester was never found from what I understand, nor could police ever find a missing persons report in that name. And this becomes...
So was he a made up person?
This becomes a little bit of a pattern.
Gotcha.
So we're not sure. So now I'm going to list the victims and timeline of Michelle Perry, most of which there isn't really information on, not that I could find anyway. So
right.
February 4th, 1984, Michelle murdered a young man named Frederick in the Annecy region of France.
Okay.
Not sure where that is because I've never been there.
I have not been to that part.
Okay. Well, there you go.
I'd have to look it up. I don't remember which part of the country it is.
I'm really bad about that stuff anyway. So I'm like, I don't know.
Geography? Yeah.
It's not my
The only reason I really know anything is because of my sailing adventures.
Exactly.
And travel.
Places you've been.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah. In June of 1985, he murdered his only female victim, a woman named Anne Laure, or possibly Anne Fleur, as Michelle couldn't remember her name. I don't know how to say that, so I'm just going to leave that out. And again, that's another one. They couldn't find any evidence that this woman existed or this young girl.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that all of his victims were underage. So, on May 7th, 1986, Michelle killed his first Swiss victim, a young man named Wow, my mouth is real fucked up.
I'm sorry.
Man.
we just add in letters to things, guys. It's okay. We've got our own language.
Crying now. Okay.
Let's go back to the elderly.
Oh yes, that was his. Oh yeah, my eyeballs are tearing up for real. That's funny. Elderly. Okay. His name was Cedric, whose decomposing corpse was
Okay.
found in Albanen, an isolated region of Valais. Bleh?
Blech.
I'm bad with words sometimes. In July of 1986, Michelle Perry made several trips to different European countries, including Yugoslavia, and he admitted to the murder of a man, no D, named Silvio in the region of what is now Croatia. But then he retracted
okay.
that confession. And that's
What?
yeah, it's a thing.
All right.
So in the night between August 14th to 15th, 1986, in the canton of Ticino, he came across the young hitchhiker Fabio V, killing him in his usual method, which I'll get to.
Okay.
In November of 1986, Michelle attacked a man named Eve. Wow, in Neuchâtel, blah blah blah. Eve Neuchâtel, I think, was his name. Anyway, who miraculously survived despite suffering sexual abuse and almost dying. And I will talk about him a little bit more in a minute.
Okie dokie.
Another victim, Vincent, was found burned in March of 1987. And there were links to another serial killer, Pierre Chanal, being the killer, but this was never proven. And Pierre Chanal, if you want to look him up, is he was a French serial killer during the same period. And they were very much alike in what they did. So
interesting.
Yeah, disturbing. Michelle was suspected in the so-called Mormelon. It's like more melon. Yum. Mormelon disappearance case, which is actually a big case, especially since between 1980 and 1987, Michelle frequented the military zones of northern France and the Valdehan camp in Dudes near the Swiss border. But due to a lack of evidence, this lead was abandoned in 1990. The Mormelon disappearances were also linked to Pierre Chanal at one point, which makes the most sense, but nothing ever came of it as the military swept it under the rug, which happens. Several soldiers and a couple of civilians disappeared in this area. So it was a lot of people, and nothing happened here.
Yeah. Whew.
Yeah.
They better get back to that case and solve it.
Especially because they actually found Pierre Chanal in that area in his van bus with a man tied up inside. And
oh my goodness gracious.
Bruh, that
and we just let him go.
It links him to the area. I don't think they let him go.
No.
But so a month later, on April 16th, 1987, a young Frenchman became his 9th victim in the Como region of Italy. Michelle confessed to his murder, but then retracted the confession. Again. Except this all happened at the same time when he actually admitted to everything and retracted. But
okay.
Finally, on April 24th, 1987, he attacked his last victim, a young man named Thomas, who survived. Thomas is a badass
jamma
motherfucker. Thomas had gone to Lucerne with his friends to a carnival. The city was full of shows, music, etc. Sounds like a lot of fun, and it was at first. Thomas had had a few beers before he decided to call it a night. And during this time period, young people used to hitchhike all the time. So Thomas caught a ride with a guy who offered to drive him home. But when the guy passed the road he would need to go down to get to where Thomas was going, Thomas instantly knew he was in serious danger. So he did the smart thing and started memorizing everything he could about the man driving the car. And when the man dragged him down to a river, Thomas played dead by holding his breath underwater as long as he possibly could.
Holy moly, that's hard to do.
And the man who had attacked him believed it and left him there. It worked. Thomas was badly injured, but knew he needed to get help or he would likely die from his wounds. So, like, he was totally naked and running, trying to get back to civilization so that he could find cops so he could get help.
Pretended to drown.
Yep.
And ran.
Oh, you froze.
Injured and could be dying.
Right.
Ah, you froze.
You turned into a robot.
I am Kristen.
Oh my gosh, that was awesome. Oh, so he ended up getting 39 stitches and cuts that were all over his head. And trigger warning.
So he was bleeding from his head because he was probably.
Yeah, I'll get it. We're good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently he had been hit on the head.
Sorry, I think ahead.
Don't think ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm going to stop.
He had been hit on the head with a hammer. A fucking hammer several times, obviously, because 39 stitches.
Yeah, that's.
And yeah, so even with all of those wounds, Thomas was determined to help the police catch the guy who had attacked him. But I have to say, apparently he like fell in one spot while he was running, trying to get back to get help, and like was stuck there for like an hour or something before he could get the energy up again. I'm like, what the hell?
No.
Talk about determination and like, I'm gonna live.
Yeah, he had fight.
Yes, that's so amazing. So police were now searching for a 30-year-old man with short brown curly hair driving a beige Peugeot 504 station wagon. And inside the vehicle, the passenger side door handle was missing. Sounds familiar.
Oh,
yeah. So now here's the crazy thing. The police, wow, Heidi, quit adding D's. Woo. It's gonna be fine. It's when it's got a D on the next word for some reason.
Yeah.
We keep adding it too soon. So the police realized this wasn't the first teenage hitchhiker to be attacked recently. There was a recent case of a young male hitchhiker who I mentioned earlier named Eve, who was sexually assaulted, beaten in the head, and then his attacker had poured a liquid all over him, which Eve quickly figured out was gasoline by the smell of it. Eve's attacker then tried to light a match to set him on fire, but the torrential rain didn't help the attacker's motives and it didn't work.
Oh, thank God.
And he only had one match on him. So he had to walk back to his car, which was actually quite far away because he drags his victims of it from the car pretty far down by a river. So when he went to his car, Eve wiggled somehow out of his bound whatever, tied up body, and he escaped and found a phone to call his parents and police. And when he got in contact with the police, he described what had happened to him, but the car was a different vehicle altogether. So Eve said his attacker drove a dark green Citroen. But the description of the attacker was the same. A 30-ish-year-old man with short brown curly hair. So thankfully the police actually put that all together because this is like crucial information.
Yeah, right. Sorry.
It's okay. So the police worked with the two. So the police worked with the two teens to get a composite sketch drawn up. And they took this composite and shared it everywhere they could. The composite was all over the local media. Local neighborhoods were checked, and all previous known offenders who fit the description were checked out, and every single one had a solid alibi. But one day, the detectives got a call from a man in Romont. He was pretty sure the man in the composite sketch was his own brother, Michel. I got to give this guy some freaking kudos, because like calling on your family member is a very hard thing, but like absolutely
Takes a lot of integrity.
You have to
'Cause,
do it, because you
yeah.
cannot let somebody get away with this bullshit.
Mm-mm.
So his brother said that he had come out to him about 2 years prior and that he was into younger guys. But he also just couldn't believe it would be his brother, because to him and to everybody else who knew Michel was just such a nice guy.
He was charming.
Exactly. He said Michel was in the Swiss Army at the time and that he was away currently doing some training, but that he still lived at his parents' house in Romont. So the detectives went to Michel's parents' home and conducted a search of the property. And this is where they found handcuffs, rope, nylon ties, and a copy of Hitler's Mein Kampf. They also discovered a beige Peugeot 504 station wagon. And they also found Michel's old car, which he had not sold yet, a dark green Citroen.
Alrighty then.
So yeah, both cars. Word. Inside the Peugeot, they discovered the passenger side door handle was missing, just like Thomas had said. The detectives also discovered a gas can and a hammer inside the vehicle, and the hammer was the same one used to attack Thomas. After finding all of these things inside Michel's home and vehicles, the police realized they had a much bigger offender than they originally thought. They had a possible serial sadist. Michel was arrested without issue and with the help of the army on May 1st, 1987, while doing his military service. Yeah, I'm glad that the army helped at least.
Yes. It's
Michel
good when
said,
there's cooperation.
yes, it's very helpful. Michel said he was glad the police had caught him because he didn't think he could quit killing. He told the officers to make sure he was never released. Talk about like no impulse control. I mean,
sounds like one of my last guys.
Yeah.
The one who was wearing dresses.
Right.
So very similar.
It's a
Like,
similar,
they both
like
couldn't stop. They were like, put me to death, keep me in jail, because I'm not gonna stop.
Right. So the police were eager to get Michel to talk, which wasn't too difficult, obviously, because he just was like, yeah, I kill people, help,
Right.
Michel wanted to talk. He admitted to Thomas and Eve attacks almost immediately. He claimed responsibility for several different murders, but he kept retracting his confessions and then admitting to them again and then retracting them again. He quickly figured out he could easily retract his confessions to the crimes where no bodies were found. So Michel Perry is serving a life sentence, which in Switzerland is only about 25 years. And in 2002 and again in 2009, Michel Perry made several parole requests without any success.
Yeah, I mean, he legit told them if he's let out, he will kill again.
Yeah,
so
like don't let it go.
Why would we parole him?
Well, yeah, and
please don't.
Yikes. Yeah. Yikes. Michel Perry is a prime example of an organized psychopath. Even after having an unhappy childhood and an extremely violent father, he somehow managed to lead a seemingly normal life and was appreciated by everyone in his social life and work. All the while, behind his mask of normality, he was tortured by his repressed homosexuality, then by his violent fantasies, which began early in life. And by his own admission, he discovered his sexuality through looking at bondage. To Michel, sexuality and violence were inseparable. In France, he is often compared to Pierre Chanal, as they were very similar.
Mhm.
Michelle Perry has been described as the worst known serial killer in Switzerland since World War II. So that's pretty gnarly, but
Yeah.
like also it's Switzerland. We don't think of Switzerland as having that.
No, we don't think of them as being anything but happy chocolatiers that
Oh,
ride
mm,
their snowboards
sorry.
down the mountain.
I'm like, chocolate. Between
No,
five.
but having go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Carry on.
No, I was just saying, having been to Switzerland, it's beautiful and the people are great and very nice and friendly.
It's like in my top probably 5 of places I need to go.
Yeah.
Between 5 and 11 murders have been attributed to him, all of them killed in the same way. Yikes.
Didn't he say he had at least like 9 or?
And that's what I was saying. Like,
Yeah.
he kept retracting. So he was only convicted on 5.
Right. Well,
and there was no evidence for any of the others. So
yeah. His word is just, yeah.
Michelle would pick up teenage hitchhikers, tie them up, sexually assault them, then finally kill them by beating them with a hammer. And then he would burn the corpses afterwards. His crimes upset everyone in Switzerland for many months and even long afterward, when the people of Switzerland had to decide on a popular initiative concerning the treatment of violent offenders in the country. Another 15 years later. So like even 15 years later, they were still using him as prime example.
Right.
And I got all my information. This was a rough one. Wikipedia. And there are some links found on the Wikipedia page to like where they got their information.
Yeah, they're resources.
But they're not in English. So like I can't, no, I'm not going to go and like translate some page just because I can. Like I can't do that. I can't do it.
Yeah.
And then there were a couple of YouTube documentaries, which was very helpful because they were in English. So that's my case, y'all. That's my case.
It's interesting. It is definitely one I haven't heard about. So
yeah, I had never heard of them before. So now I'm like, I need to go look up Pierre Chanal. So I can find any information.
You're gonna have a whole nother case.
Except it's gonna be in French. And then
you guys, we really need to get monetized here so we can hire a translator in all languages.
Legit.
So we can do our better research.
That right there. That's serious stuff.
Yep.
All right. So that's it. And I pre-recorded our little thing. So I'm just gonna add it after.
Woo woo.
When I
we're getting better and better at this, y'all. We're doing better. We're
learning. There. If only our internet would stabilize all the time.
Yeah, it would make it a lot better.
Yeah,
but it's still a part of it.
Word.
You know, love us or leave us.
Turning into robots is part of the whole experience. Okay,
that's right. That's right.
And freezing your face when you're like. That's great.
It's all good. All good in the hood, y'all.
So
that's it.
Yeah. You don't even have to say anything else.
What about our little ending?
It's pre-recorded. That's what I mean. I already like have it pre-recorded.
But what about our ta-ta for now?
I was like, wait, we've done it on every episode. Thanks for listening to Crime, Coffee, and Crafts. If you love our podcast, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. This helps us more than you know. If you really love us and want to support us, go to our website at www.crimecoffeeandcrafts.com. From there, you can join our Patreon, shop our merch, and find us on social media.